All right, we're on. Your green light's on, my green light's on.
Thanks for having me, dude.
All right, cool. Hey, everybody. I'm Steven.
And I'm Kyle.
This isn't a, I'm interviewing. No, I'm just kidding. This is Pizza and Politics with Kyle Goudy.
Yep.
Goudy. I don't know him.
Goudy.
Goudy.
Yep.
School Board District
4.
We're going to make some pizza and talk some politics. All right, come over here. Come over here. We're going to...
The dough.
Let me get you some dough, Kyle. So you want to know something cool? You see this right here? Look at all that protein. This is very good dough because it's been fermenting in our walk-in, cold fermentation for 3 days.
Wow.
So if you have stomach issues, it's going to be a lot better for you because of the long fermentation process. That dough, that yeast gets to do its job. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this paddle.
Okay.
You're going to scoop it under. You're going to get around to kind of get it up. And with the other hand, you're going to try and lift this up and keep it in a circle.
As it is now.
Correct. So go ahead. So put your hand on the other side. Yep. Don't be scared. Go in there. Nope, but you got to keep that circle. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I think pizza making should be part of our VOTEC programs in Orange County. throw it in right there. Throw it in right there. Throw it in. I'll take that. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take our beautiful, never bromated, never chlorinated, never bleached dough. We're going to push the gas out.
This was something that was new to me. I didn't realize that pizza commonly has those.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
It's just really good bread.
Yeah.
It's bread.
Right.
You know, it's everywhere. But we are very conscious about our ingredients, so that's why we don't use it. If I'm not going to feed it to my kids, I'm not going to feed it to yours.
Yeah, sounds like something that should be in a pool, not in the pizza.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But go ahead and push down and get the gas out. There you go. Flip it over and do it again. Perfect. Get those bubbles. There we go. Look at that. Did you hear that gas come out? Beautiful. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of that flour. We're going to put it in your workstation. So just
I feel
salt
like
bay
a little
that.
bit
Salt
like
bay that. There you go.
In back in art class. Yeah, some kind of. I do feel like I'm back in school.
So we're going to take a little bit more and you're going to throw it on your pizza peel right there. Move it all around. There you go. Very good. We're going to stay inside the little line for the 12-inch
That's not easy for me, Steven.
All right. So here we go. Now what you're going to do is you're going to massage it very nicely and get more gas out. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Very gentle. Don't beat it up. Kind of like your first date. You wanted to hold hands real nicely and gently. That's what you want to do. Flip it over. Do it again.
So if you beat it up, what happens?
You're going to have beaten up dough. You're going to taste it. It's going to taste bad. Get the gas out. You want to make some marks in there. And you got some gas here on your crust line, so pop those bubbles.
Are those? Then that's like a bubble that you would see on. I kind of like that.
Okay, well then leave one there. Let's see if it stays. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to form your crust. We're going to flip that back over, and what I want you to do is I want you to hold your hand in kind of like a half moon, like that. Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay, so kind of you're going to make your crust line with this hand right here.
Okay.
Okay, and if I made flour, here I'm just going to show you. I'm going to put a lot of flour. It's not going to hurt. So if you're going to keep a perfect circle right there, you're going to make your crust and spin. This hand's not going to move. Spin, 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 and then when you're done, the flour should be a perfect circle. Okay, and that'll be the should be. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you. We're going to make your crust line with your fingers like that. See how my fingers aren't touching, but the dough is touching in my hand. And then I'm going to turn and do it the next section. And then I'm going to turn. And I'm going to do the next section. If you just do
a couple more, I won't even have to.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
See how well I can take instructions here.
Oh, I like that. On brand, on theme. Now, normally we like to have a pizza in the oven within 3 minutes of the order.
How long does it take to cook?
I don't know, but we only have an hour together, so you might want to speed it up there, buddy. All right, let me help you. We got to get a crust. So we're going to get a crust. I mean, good on the circle, but you got to have a crust. So you see how we're doing that right there?
Oh, you're like raising it up a little bit almost.
Because I'm not making contact. My skin is not making contact.
Right.
And then, see, you like those bubbles. And now what we're going to do is we're going to stretch like that. Same concept, but you're going to use 2 hands now, and you're going to stretch and turn
like massaging technique.
There you go. You want to make your center strong Okay, so don't put all of your dough there. You want the center to be strong.
Gotcha.
Okay, so massage here, stretch
Ah.
here, make that thin. I mean, look at your circle. It's looking good. That flour circle I mentioned, it's looking good. Protein's looking good inside that. That's that good fermentation.
Protein and pizza are not two things that I generally think about together.
Yeah, man. I mean, the yeast is creating it. Pretty good, pretty good. We got to get it to 12 inches, though. We're doing a 12-inch pie. Let me help you out. So we're going to make that crust. You're not going to break it.
What, is this the part where you can?
Yeah, you ready?
I want to. Let's see you do it.
Let's see your size. We're almost there. Okay. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take your fingers like that.
Okay.
I don't want your nails touching the dough.
Okay.
Okay. You want your first knuckle to just hold the dough and rest it on a shelf.
Oh,
see how I'm kind of like holding that on a shelf?
Yeah.
But look, my nail's not touching the dough.
Right.
Okay. And what you're gonna do that is you're gonna stretch this way now.
Okay.
And turn it. Okay. Go for it. Just 2 fingers. Just 2 fingers. Put your hands down.
Like that?
Yeah, exactly. Are you stretching?
Or
are you just moving?
I'm doing my best.
You're just all right, we're not bad. I think we're over 12 inches. So let's take a look.
I actually kind of do like a thinner crust. So I think if you go wider, you're getting thinner.
This is good. It's not gonna fit in a pizza box, but we're not
That's
taking
all right.
it to go.
It's not,
good.
I haven't eaten.
You did a good
hours.
job. Look at this.
Proof.
Good job.
Yeah,
All right.
it does look good.
So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some sauce. Okay. And you're gonna take about that much sauce.
Okay.
And you're gonna put it right in the center. You're gonna dump all of the sauce in the center, one spot in the center. You don't want the whole thing because it's a small pie. There you go. Put all of it right in the center, all of it. Dump it all out, all of it. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take the bottom portion, yep, exactly, and you're just going to swirl it out all the way to one knuckle on the crust line.
I have to admit, I was watching your chef earlier trying to pick up any. This is not going to do it justice.
You were cheating on the test?
I was, yes.
Or preparing.
I was preparing.
It was pizza study hall.
I wanted to come in prepared, studied, because, this is important stuff here.
We're changing the world one pizza at a time.
And you may not know this, but my last name, I was just sharing this with somebody else. When our family came from Italy, it was actually Gaudio. It was Gaudio.
So the folks at Ellis Island
they
didn't know
screwed it up,
or the immigrant.
I don't know what happened there, but it got changed, and all of that to be said that I do have Italian roots, even if it doesn't show in my cooking here.
Okay, all right. Hey, you got people staring at you.
Yeah,
they've got their own cameras out.
Yeah,
and these people in the dining room probably are wondering what we're doing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some cheese.
Yeah.
And you're just going to
tell me about your cheese.
This cheese is Wisconsin dairy. So this is from a family. I think there's about 38 family farmers.
Okay.
It's a cooperative.
Nice.
It's called Burnett Dairy Cooperative.
Okay.
We were the first customer that they ever had outside of the kind of like the Great Lakes area.
How'd you find them?
I found them at a convention in Vegas, and I was just really impressed with not only the quality, but the way that
It's beautiful.
It's the family farm that comes together. All the different family farmers come together, and it wasn't a big giant. It's not on the what do they call that? The commodities market. Where they're not trying to drill down the cost of dairy to the farmer. The farmers are trying to have a good life for their families and for their animals. So so we pay a little premium because there's not a lot of people buying it down here, but we're hoping to change that. All right, so we're going to take that, and then what I want you to do is I want you to come over here, kind of use that same cup, yep, and you're going to sprinkle this on, let it hit your hand so it doesn't go off the board.
Gotcha.
You're going to start on the outside, and same thing, you're going to swirl into the center.
Okay.
All the way around. Make sure you get out to the crust. All right, get the rest in the middle there.
My distribution was okay.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Let's see how it does. Now, Kyle,
Yeah.
Do you want to put anything on it? You want to top it?
Oh,
with anything?
yeah.
What do you want to put on it?
We were talking about the pepperoni before we came on.
Okay.
Big pepperoni guy.
Yep.
And what's the type of pepperoni again?
Cup and char pepperoni. It's the little ones that pop up when you get hot.
Oh, it's the best.
So go ahead. I'll let you do that. Oh, look at that. Tossing them, throwing them around. Why don't you make a happy face? Not too late for that.
Well, even distribution here. I'm a little bit OCD, so we'll go here. And then
that's it? That's all you want?
No,
we're going for more? What else
is there bacon in here?
There's some bacon, yeah. Right here.
Just grab it.
Yep. We washed our hands and the oven kills everything. So pizza is one of the only carve-outs in the restaurant world where you don't have to use gloves to touch raw ingredients and because the oven just destroys everything.
Yep, you can feel it behind us, nice and warm. 575, I believe.
That's actually that pressure and heat that you feel are my questions that are coming in a few minutes.
Okay, hey, I'm ready for it.
Anything else?
Typically this would be what I would order.
Okay. So very important though.
Oh, red peppers, those look good.
You want red?
Yeah.
How about peppercini? Have you ever had pepperdew peppers?
Is it spicy?
Yes. No? Okay. You want red peppers?
Yeah.
Okay, grab some.
Same thing?
What do you mean?
Grab it.
Some. Yeah, grab some.
All right.
Grab what you want. All right, now the question that everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
I say yes. I say pineapple belongs on pizza because for me, sweet and savory is like a flavor combination as old as time.
Okay.
And there's no more sweet and savory than some pepperoni with a little pineapple. And yes, actually,
You're gonna throw some on?
I'm gonna throw some pineapple on, yeah.
Give it some color to all
this
that
is
red.
gonna be. I may have lost some votes here. This may be controversial.
You may have lost votes, but you may have gained votes.
School board candidate Kyle Goudy endorses pineapple on pizza.
Yep, there you go.
See the headlines now.
You are a part of the Dole pineapple lobby.
That's right. They? Yeah, big pineapple.
Big pineapple owns you.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put it in the oven, and our beautiful Italian oven from Italy is rotating.
Yeah, I noticed that earlier. And that's for an even.
So you've got the carousel going around. I'm going to get some of this flour out.
And where would be an ideal place for it to land? In one of those
it's the
pentagons?
the ideal place or the ideal way for it to land is intact.
Intact?
So I'll be happy. This is difficult.
And is this like pulling a sheet out from, is that a similar concept at play here?
What do you mean like if you were to like at the table?
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what you're trying to do. That's exactly
tablecloth, not a sheet, a tablecloth.
Yeah, the tablecloth.
If you wanted to rip the cloth out and leave everything on the table.
Yep. So,
and we have a proper amount of.
You want to go straight in there. It's not an airplane going for a landing. So take you straight.
Sound effects. Do the sound effects.
Hey man, I'm doing the post production, so I don't know how to do post production. So.
And it's just going to be
We'll get it in there and then do it. Go. Whoa! I mean, the toppings went everywhere.
Yeah.
But good job. Oh, he goes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so go ahead and hit this timer right here. This is push that down. Push that button down. All right, we got 6 minutes.
All right.
We'll watch your toppings that flew off
kind of a beautiful
burn,
thing.
and then.
That's what your rake is for.
Yeah. Okay.
Keep nice clean ovens here at Playa. Right. Not only are they clean ingredients.
What do you think? Did you do a good job?
Thank you. Thank you. First time pizza cook here.
You want to try some when it comes out? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I think
we'll break and then we'll get it when it comes out.
Well done. Oh, you know what? Sorry, Mom, you're about to catch a ricochet shot. This is how I ate my pizza growing up, so I actually don't hate it like that. I swear to God, my mom used to burn our food. We would know when it was ready when you smelled it.
So that's less than 6 minutes.
All right, so I'm being the cameraman and I'm trying to instruct you at the same time. So what you're going to do is you are going to not be shy with that thing. You're not going to break it. You're going to chomp down
right in the middle.
All the way across. Yep, straight line. No, right at the crust line. Boom.
Slap it down.
Yep, and go straight across. And now make an X. Or I guess you can do that. Now you're going to have 8 slices. I was going for 6.
Does not take instructions
I was
well.
going to say, going for school board, not taking instructions. What can I say, buddy?
This is going to be so good.
All right, so then grab the small tray right there, right next to you. Put it right here. Put it right here. And then slide that right on. And there you go. Good job. Hold it up. Be proud.
Voila.
Look at that.
Just like when I get elected, it'll be a job well done.
Hello.
Ba boom, bada bing.
Recording.
And
I'm so paranoid.
live.
Are your green lights still on? Your green lights still on? All right, good. Cool. Okay. Are you trying to make it look like it's whole? Are you trying to make it look like it's whole? So just so you're aware, it was loud in here. It was too loud to start recording. We turned the music down. We asked them to be quiet. There's a large party to the left, and Kyle was hungry. So normally we would eat it together, but he ate it. How's your pizza?
I ate a slice. It's good. Again, I like my pizza well done. The crust is probably a little more.
Oh yeah, that's really.
But
well
the rest, the 90% of it is good.
So look, I'm going to tell you a secret. This right here is tomato. Okay, this is burnt. So it look like that looks like that's like burnt tomato, and that's burnt flour. So.
Just reminds me of my childhood, if we're being honest. Sorry, Mom.
But you said you like this?
I do. It's good.
So Kyle ate a slice while we were waiting, like I said, and then tried to here, let them see. Try to push it together to try it because he thought I'd be mad. But I think this is hilarious.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Do you want more?
Yeah, I'm starving.
Okay, go ahead.
That was why I ate the
right.
slice that I did. Are you going to have any?
No.
What would your toppings be?
Lots of veggies.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of veggies.
I've got red peppers on here, a couple red peppers.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Looks good. I mean, the bottom's not burnt. It's just, your bottom is good.
Everything but the crust is.
Yeah, it's just the crust. Just your first time, man. You did a good job.
Thank you.
But like you said, what did you say? You said something about
well done. Well done.
Well done. Your job well done. Well, hopefully you have success with what you want. So I want to say that you and I met a month ago at an event that was here.
Yep.
It was a nonpartisan event. It was a community event. You were here. And I asked for you to stop speaking to me because I did not want to know anything about you.
Yep.
Because I wanted to save it for right now. So, who are you?
Yeah.
What should we know about you? Where are you from? Where were you educated?
Yep.
And why should we vote for you?
Yeah. So I'll lead with this because my name in full and as it will be on the ballot is Kyle Roger Goudy.
Okay.
My dad's name was Roger. Today actually would have been his 73rd birthday. So he was born July 8th, work backwards, whatever year that was, 51. And so I'm Kyle Roger Goudy. I grew up in the greater Cleveland area. Both of my parents were teachers. My brother still to this day is a teacher. So I grew up in a public education household. I went to a really good public school that was diverse in a lot of ways. And, because of that experience, I've always been passionate about public education. I don't think that you can separate public well-being from strong public education. And so I guess that's kind of the beginning, right? My parents actually met as teachers. So I use the joke that I literally wouldn't be here if it weren't for public education because both my parents were teachers when they met. So it's something that's really dear to me. And so whenever Brittany and I had our daughter and started looking at the future and started talking to neighbors and friends, and one of the things I remember early on was the guy that lives across the street from us is a great guy. His name's Scott Rose. Had 2 kids that were in Dr. Phillips. We live in Orange Tree, which is a nice part of town. And he didn't send his kids to public school. Both of his kids went to TFA. And so I was like, that's kind of weird that, you live in a nice part of town. He's like, well, have you heard about Southwest Middle School? I was like, no, what about Southwest Middle School? And he started telling me about some of the stuff that he'd heard. Some of it may be true, some of it not. But just the thought to me that, you could live in a nice part of town and you would have to think twice was, again, this was 6 years ago, was like a new concept to me, right? Because where I grew up, if you lived in a nice community, you had a good public school. Things down here are a lot different. Like even on a basic level in Ohio, school boards are all city managed. So my dad was a superintendent of a city. And I think in some ways, I think that's a better model because you're closer to your constituents. When my dad would go out to dinner, he would see parents, he would see teachers, he was very close. This is not any shot at Vasquez. I think she's actually doing a really good job, but the odds of you seeing her at Playa Pizza are slim and none.
And who's Vasquez?
So Maria Vasquez is the superintendent of Orange County Public Schools.
Okay.
And newly hired, and again, I think she's doing a good job. It's not
That's
anything.
not a political position.
It's not a political position. It is a decision that's made by the board. So the board, which is comprised of 7 people, hire and can obviously fire if necessary. We're not going to be in that situation, but hire the superintendent. It's one of the many things that they do. So, but just fundamentally different in how it's structured. I think a lot of states up north are similar, where it's more of a local school board. And so here I'm running for School Board District 4, which is Dr. Phillips, Windermere, Gotha, Winter Garden south of 50, and then all of what we call Horizon West, which a lot of them have.
That's where we are.
Where we are. And a lot of them have Winter Garden addresses, but.
Windermere and Orlando.
And Windermere and Orlando. Where I'm at.
We're in Windermere.
Yep.
Across the street is Lake Buena Vista.
Yep.
Right here is Orlando.
Yep.
And right there is Winter Garden. We're like at this weird crossroads of all the services provided by the different post offices. It all comes right here at Playa Pizza.
And a lot of people don't realize that. Like where I live, everybody calls it Dr. Phillips. That's unincorporated Orange County.
Correct.
And so
as is Horizon West.
As is Horizon West.
Winter Garden.
And so it's not Winter Garden. And meaning that Winter Garden has a city council. They have Winter Garden police. They have all the things that you would have in a traditional.
As does Windermere.
As does Windermere. And Dr. Phillips doesn't. And Ocoee. And so you have these local municipalities where, and this is what I tell people in my area and over here, you are represented by your county commissioner and your school board representatives largely. There's other things as well.
Because those are the only ones that have divisions.
Those are the only ones.
Districts and.
That are elected officials presiding over where, obviously you have like some city examples where there's a mayor of Orlando. But
it's an incorporated city.
Exactly.
But Kyle, you just mentioned about the city-run school districts in the area that you moved here from. And how long ago did you move here?
I moved to Orlando 14 years ago.
Okay. So isn't the district the equivalent of that? So you said you're running for District 4. Isn't that small town that you're trying to get to, or you want it smaller?
No.
But it's not going to happen.
We're not going to change
do
this. But I do think that the school board representative can be the liaison to that area. It would be like having District 4 would have 4 school boards. Because you have Dr. Phillips, Windermere. Okay. Think about how big Horizon West is. They're opening new schools every other year. And so that's not going to happen, right? It's fundamentally different than how I grew up. But I think as a school board representative for this area, it's my job to know what matters to people. And that's why a big part of my strategy has been to go out into the community, meeting people at events, at their houses in a lot of cases. And I talked to Noreen about this earlier, but...
Who's Noreen?
So Noreen has a publication called Winter Garden Vox Populi, and we were talking about,
She's here.
Yeah, she's here. So, but, I truly see myself as a representative of the community. And so getting out and meeting people is the best way to know what's important to the community, because it's not about Kyle Goudy. It's about District 4. And I'm not one that thinks I have all the right ideas or all the best ideas. A lot of what I've deemed important to me, and because everyone, what are the issues that matter to you? And I'm sure we'll get there. But those are all things that I've heard from people. It's not like, I came up with these ideas on my own. It's things that I've heard. And I'm not talking about like in small numbers, right? I'm talking in the thousands. I've met thousands of people in the last year, we'll call it. And there's common themes. And so not everything that somebody says is going to be something that I can change or fix or whatever. But I'm not, I think narcissism is something that's common in the elected official space. It's not, I realize it's not about me. It's truly not. There's, in my district alone, there'll be roughly 40,000 kids. and a ton of families attached to that. So it's not about me, and it's a big job and a big responsibility. And I think that's where meeting people and talking to people and listening, this is unique where, I'm doing a lot of the talking, but when I'm either door knocking or I listen 80% of the time. I really
So what are you learning?
What am I learning? I'm learning that there's a lot of, even with teachers, right? I think people like to generalize what's important to a teacher. Well, that matters. There's so many factors that go into that. Where are you teaching? What age are you teaching? The needs of any teacher are not going to be the same depending on what school you're in, what age you're teaching. Elementary school teachers, something as basic as being able to use the restroom. When they're with kids all morning long and don't have reprieve because they're literally teaching all the subjects, maybe take the kids to lunch, there could be a 3 or 4 hour window where they can't leave the kids unsupervised and they may need to use the restroom. That may sound basic to you or I, but imagine trying to...
Something I never thought of until this moment.
How would you? I didn't either until recently. Everybody, the raises that they gave in Orange County were great, and we need to do more. But in some cases, many schools had to make cuts. Maybe not as a direct relation to that, but I meet teachers who have told me, we're going to lose a para in my classroom, and now it's even harder to manage this classroom. Or in the case of, this isn't in district, but
they're going to lose what?
Like a paraprofessional or an assistant, an aide in the classroom. And even the name's escaping me now, but the people that work with kids, like when there's discipline issues or Shingle Creek Elementary, I met a teacher at her house, and she was telling me about how there's a decent Haitian population at that school. And
Is that in District 4?
It is not in District 4, but, and this is important too that I think people understand, when I vote on something, it's for the whole county. And so while there will be some hyper-localized issues, I'm going to be voting on behalf of the entire county. And I guess the example here is that teacher lives in District 4. So they'll be voting for the District 4 school board. And in her case, she happened to be a teacher. And so that was something that was important to her. They lost an employee who spoke the native language of, which I believe is Creole.
Yes.
It's like a French Creole. And and it was strictly on the basis of he was the last one hired. And so he was the first one out when they had to cut budget.
So how are we in Orange County? We have given the school board twice now a half a cent sales tax, and they're asking us to do it again.
It's a renewal. It's not anything new.
Correct, but it's not permanent, so they're asking for permission to do it again. And that's November or August?
November.
Okay, so they're asking for that in November. I served on the Tourist Development Tax task force that was my version of community service. Commissioner Wilson asked me to serve, and I did that. And we take in more tourist development tax than states, just our county, than some states. And you're telling me that our teachers got a raise, and it was not enough, which you agree. I just heard you say that. And we're still getting rid of people? How is that possible?
Yeah, so I think the two things are not related. I would say the half-cent sales tax is largely for new schools, renovating old schools, air conditioners, roofs, kind of the big capital improvement budget items are what the half-penny sales tax will fund. And I would also urge people to do their research on it because over half of that sales tax is paid by tourists and visitors. But look, Orange County is a big system. It's a $2.6 billion budget. And one example we're close by I think is relevant. I think that for a lot of reasons, we could be better stewards of tax dollars. And an example that's relevant right now because they're building it is Windermere High School, the football stadium. Right? They built 5 years ago, and this was county commission working with the school board.
Yeah, the county commission and the school board, which are both funded by our tax dollars, used tax dollars to sue each other, which was the most asinine thing I had ever seen in my adult life until I served on the Tourist Development Tax Task Force. So I just want to throw that out there, but continue. So we use tax dollars to sue ourselves. But go ahead.
And then,
so the lawyers won.
And that happens all over don't start looking too hard. Go look at the CTA and how they negotiate between teachers and school board and all the cloak of darkness that's in between that. I met with a lady the other day who's on the bargaining committee for CTA. That's a
What
teacher.
is CTA?
CTA is the Classroom Teachers Association, which is the union that represents the teachers.
Okay.
And I think 57% of teachers are enrolled. And so when they're negotiating like this new renewal that they got, there's a cloak of darkness between the two, and who wins? The lawyers win. because they don't get a fair and honest representation from one side to the other. The board hears the story of the board attorneys, and the CTA and teachers hear the side of the teachers' attorneys. What does that create? Tons of back and forth. What does that create? Tons of billable hours. Who wins? Attorneys. So
back to the stadium.
So back to the stadium. They built, I guess,
5 years ago.
5 years ago, they built that stadium off-site at the high school, which creates a long list of logistical issues, but was also a waste of taxpayer dollars. So now it'll be in the range of $7 million collectively to do something that now they're going to have it on campus, which is great, but should have been done from the beginning. And I think.
And why wasn't it done from the beginning? Where does the buck stop with why wasn't it done in the beginning?
So there's a group, there's a collective.
No. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people that voted. Who's responsible for that?
Yeah, I'm not comfortable like listing a single person.
Why not?
Because
it was a public vote.
Yeah, I think there's more to it than that. I know it sounds like your opinion is that there's
no opinion. I literally wanted to know.
Yeah. So again, I don't have a single name that I feel comfortable saying, but I think generally speaking, it was a lack of leadership, because to allow it to get to that point should have never happened. And the motives and who did what, I don't really know. Honestly, I'd be making something up if I gave you.
And I'm not being weird. I don't know either.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know if it was the commissioner, the county commissioner at the time, or if it was the school board member at the time. That's what I was asking.
It was,
or was it both of them?
It was a lack of leadership is what it was. And if they were doing things for any other reason than what's best for the kids in the schools, then shame on anyone. Okay. And I think I have relevant experience too. Like, we went through a very similar issue. When I was at AAU, I was the director of business development.
What's AAU?
Amateur Athletic Union. It's the largest youth sports organization in the world.
Close to headquartered right here, aren't
headquartered in Lake Buena Vista.
Right,
yep.
Hotel Plaza Boulevard.
And so we actually acquired land in Lake Buena Vista that we were going to build a multi-sport complex, but also was going to have a preschool as a part of it. So went through the whole process of acquiring the land, and this is why I say I think it's a similar issue. Whenever we were doing all that, there was a neighbor there that owned a house and didn't want it. Went to every public meeting, making a ruckus, doing everything he could to try and make sure we didn't get the approvals. And my dad was such a good leader in so many ways, but I got to watch him firsthand negotiate with this guy and hear him out and talk to him.
Your dad was part of the AAU as well?
Yep, he was the president and CEO of the AAU for 7 years. He passed away in what would have been his 8th year. But we went through that very similar process to part of what happened at Windermere was there were neighbors in a neighborhood that claimed they didn't want it because of the noise. They didn't want the noise from the stadium. They didn't want the traffic. That was one of the big issues when that was all happening. Eerily similar to what we went through when we were trying to get our approvals. So we had to meet with the county commissioner. We had a public meeting where this guy came and made, a lot of noise and tried to make it difficult, didn't want us to get the approvals, exercised any political will he had, he tried to exercise. And through that process, I learned a lot about how you manage people like that and how you listen to them, make some compromise a lot of the time. And I think similar techniques could have been used in the Windermere High School situation.
Okay. So we're $7 million in. It's too late. The baby's born. We're dealing with it. Mm-hmm. The kids are winning because they're not getting drenched like tonight. Mm-hmm. There's shelter. There's parking. There's facilities. Mm-hmm. And it's their school. And
it's on site.
It should have been that way from the beginning. That's mm-hmm. neither here nor there. It's happened.
Yep.
But
I guess the point.
When did that just happen? Like last year, it got mm-hmm. approved, right? And great.
I guess it's an example, though, too, of when we're talking about wanting to give teachers more money and we're wanting to do all these things, but you're not being responsible with the tax dollars.
And then we have to lay off a native speaker in a school that has a large population of people who need that language.
All these things are tied together, and that's just one example. It's not the only one. I have others, real-life examples where there's wasted taxpayer dollars. And so when you look at a $2.6 billion budget, and that one is very public, the Windermere High School thing, you start to ask yourself, well, how much waste is there? Because even if it's 10%, $260 million every year, you can do a lot with $260 million. I'm not saying that it is that, but, people ask me.
So you're talking from what I'm hearing you say is very, there's a lot of business acumen coming out of your mouth. Mm-hmm. And what I want to know and what I want people to understand is, where is the line for this role that you're wanting to be elected to when it comes from business, which is everything we've spoken about so mm-hmm. far, versus the teachers in classroom instruction,
Mm-hmm.
because you're doing two different things, or are you not doing two different things? Are you involved in the instruction? Are you involved in the curriculum? Are you involved in the classroom? Or are you just involved in the business of running the school board?
That would be the next most common thing that I hear, and it's generally from administrative, not the school board, is to let teachers teach. And I do think that there are some times where we can support the classroom, whether it's new equipment, new hardware, things of that nature. But as far as me going into a teacher and trying to dictate how or what they teach, I am not going to be in the business of that. That's not my role. And other people may have other opinions on that, but I'm not. How would I, who hasn't been in a classroom nearly as long as a lot of these teachers have, go in and dictate to them how and what to teach? I don't see that as my role. I see myself as somebody who's going to support teachers, and whether that means
But there's a curriculum.
there's a curriculum, but that's not dictated by the Orange County School Board.
Who's that dictated by?
The state, largely. Most of the curriculum is passed down by the state.
So does the Orange County School Board have any say in the curriculum, accepting, rejecting what the state says? I just read in the paper that the state is requiring certain things of textbook manufacturers. I don't know if that's the phrase, textbook manufacturer, but of the textbook companies.
Publishers.
Textbook publishers, thank you.
Mm.
Textbooks publishers, if they want that contract. So does the state determine the textbook as well, or is that your role to determine?
No, that would be the state.
So the state even is determining the textbook.
Yep.
And now the state is pushing to politicize this role. This is a nonpartisan role.
Yep.
So politics should not be in play with our children's minds, but the state wants.
Totally agree.
And that's going to be on the ballot.
Yep, I believe it's issue 1
on
in
November's ballot.
Yep.
So what is that in 30 seconds?
Yeah, in 30 seconds, it's to make races like school board or county commission. I'm not sure about judges, honestly, but I know a lot of judges' positions are nonpartisan. I know for sure school board and county commission, it would, you'd have an R, a D, or an NPA next to your name in those races, which I'm against.
So you're against that vote?
Keep partisan politics out of schools.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about another vote because we talked about it earlier and I didn't ask you, the half-cent renewal.
Yeah.
So the half-cent renewal is on the November ballot as well, and that is for our sales taxes, which we've done twice already. We've given to them twice already.
This is a renewal.
Correct. So
it's not new tax, though. When you say it like that, it makes it seem as if this is like we've done it already. It's not a new tax. It's not an additional tax. It's a renewal.
It's above the 6% sales tax, which is statutory. It's for the county only. It's a half a cent on the 6%. So it's 6.5. That's why it's 6.5. And that half would go to construction.
Yep. Building of new schools.
I think from the way that you're answering and talking, I think I know what you're going to say.
I'm in favor of it.
You're in favor of
Anybody who is an advocate of public education and says they're not in favor of the penny tax or half penny tax has a deep misunderstanding of what it does. The classroom portables, if you go look around Horizon West, which is where we're at right now, there's going to be a lot of new schools that open in Horizon West. Because of this half-cent sales tax in 2002 and 2014, they've been able to renovate a ton of schools, put new roofs on a ton of schools, open new schools, fix air conditioners. These are like fundamental things. This isn't like they're, using this money for, something less fundamental.
So is this half cent to advance the existing calendar, or is it to give more? Because how come there's not enough in the budget already that requires this half cent?
And so again, it's a renewal, and this is going to be extending something that's in place. So it's like a continuation. But also the way that the state funds the public schools has changed also. And so even while this 2014 tax has been in place, the state has reduced funding in key areas that if it weren't for this existing 2014 tax, I'd hate to see the status of some of our schools. And a lot of our most in-need schools have been renovated, reducing portables. It allows them to open new schools. So I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time with a guy that was eventually the CFO of Orange County Public Schools. I meet with him, probably once or twice a month. And he could not...
Is that an endorsement?
It's not an endorsement. I won't even use his name because he's retired now and he just wants to enjoy his life. But he is so gracious in sharing his knowledge, and it is pivotal to how the schools operate. And if you want to see look, there are, ask people in Horizon West about portables. Ask elementary schools that used to have areas to play that are now filled with portables. So if you don't, and oh, by the way, too, it's paid 55% of this tax can be paid by tourists. So you get all the benefits of having, and in the next, by 2035, there's going to be 70 schools that are 35 years or older. I don't know about you.
How many schools do we have total?
Oh, gosh, I don't even know. I know in District 4, it's like 36 in District 4.
So how many of those 36 are in that 70?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. I could find out.
So we're gonna have 70 something schools that are over 35 years old.
Yep, and you know as well as I do, a roof doesn't last that long. The short of it is we're gonna have to replace a lot of roofs over the next 10 years.
Sure.
And that's not a cheap thing to do. I actually went to one of the middle schools in District 4, and there was mold in the library because they have a bad roof. And what do? Patch it, patch it, patch it. They had bookshelves off the wall, and they were scrubbing the wall. So if we want our kids to be in schools that have bad roofs or a ton of portables, then don't vote for the penny tax. If you care about kids and their education, there is no two ways around the fact that having a safe, clean, air-conditioned classroom is the best place for them to learn.
All right, so you're for the penny sales tax, half penny sales tax.
Yep.
Renewal. You are wanting to use your administrative and business skills to make sure that waste is prevented,
Mm-hmm.
and the savings from the prevention of waste is going to actually serve the students in need.
Yep.
So we don't have an example of a Creole-speaking person who is laid off for
Mm-hmm.
no apparent reason in a school where a majority of the children are speaking Creole
Yep.
in the household.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else? What else are you doing?
Yeah.
Or what else you promised to do to
Yeah.
the voters
Yeah.
if you're elected?
So we have a big transportation issue as well.
What is the issue?
The issue is that we have close to 1,000 buses, 900 some odd buses. I spent 4 hours down at the bus lot in Pine Hills. And again, I'm working really hard to educate myself, not only from voters, but from people that are on the ground level. And so I went to a car show that they hosted at the Pine Hills bus lot. I was there for 4 hours, and I talked to anybody who would talk to me. That's from routing to mechanics to all different aspects of transportation. And even the lady that manages all the employees, there's like 500 some odd bus drivers. And she told me we're like 150 short. So bus drivers are being overworked. When they're sick, it creates, if you have 500, how many staff do you have here?
26-ish.
And people call out sick, right? Things happen.
Yep.
And so imagine on a scale of 500, if you have 10% of people that call out, now you go from 500 to 450. Imagine trying to manage a bus fleet where you're 10% down, 450.
And how come they're down?
Because you're competing with Universal, you're competing with Disney. There's sharp competition for people with a CDL, truck drivers. So in my opinion, we need to figure out a more competitive compensation package for drivers. And a lot of people, I don't think people know.
And is that something that you can do in the capacity of a school board member? There's no union required for that. It's something that you can, the board can unilaterally do.
Yep, and they
how come they haven't yet? They are.
They are. They're trying stuff now. I even saw recently.
What does it mean trying?
Well,
Or are they just doing?
Well, because you can't just get people to come apply for a job and do a CDL.
Oh, so you say, I thought
recruiting.
You meant,
Recruiting
okay,
people.
I thought you meant they're trying comp plans to.
Well, but they're like giving bonuses, new hire, referral. I see it on Facebook. So they're doing things to try and encourage current drivers to recruit more drivers, to try and give bonuses when you sign on. They pay for certified CDLs.
How come they don't just raise the wage?
That would be a more complicated answer. I think I can't.
Do you think you could raise the wage in finding the savings in the 10% of waste?
Totally, absolutely. And think about it. If we needed another 150 drivers, you can crunch some math really quickly, but I think it's doable for sure.
Okay.
And I think too, look, I heard tonight from somebody that a high-ranking, again, I'm not going to use names because I don't want to drag anybody here, but a high-ranking school board official made a comment along the lines of, we'll never fix that issue.
So that's
an issue. And that is one thing that I will never do. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers. Won't claim to be. But I can tell you that on the issues that we can make positive change on, I will relentlessly, maybe I'm naive, maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need somebody.
Where does this role come into, because everything that I've asked you about, and just for the record, We don't have a timer, and I have no agenda. There's no pre-done questions.
He has a pizza agenda.
It's just flying. So where does this role, this board, come into the day-to-day lives? I'm not talking about the building. I'm not talking about where does it come into the holistic care for our children? How do you affect that? How does this role consider them?
The holistic care, I'm not sure I understand the question.
How does this role care for our children outside of making sure that they have a roof, making sure they don't have mold in their library? Not, you're not touching curriculum. You've already told me that. So how are the children at the forefront of everything that this job does?
Yeah. And so I think, this
because I think that, and I took it there, and I apologize, but we just went really, really far into the business world, forgetting the mission, which is the children.
Yeah. No, I think, look, you have to make yourself accessible. I think it starts there, because if you don't, if you live in a little bubble of, I live in Ocoee, or I live in Windermere, or I live in Dr. Phillips, that's what you're going to see, and that's what you're going to think is important. So I think, even when I call voters, I call from my personal cell phone number. When I give out my card, it has my cell phone number on it. And that may sound like a little thing, but when people know that they can get a hold of you and that they can communicate to you and their issues matter, I think you would be surprised. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. I have a very wide range of support, all kinds of different people.
So tell me about that then.
Yeah, and so one of them, I have a supporter that's named Caesar, and his daughter, Caesar's wheelchair bound, and so is his wife, but they have a daughter that was at Dr. Phillips High School. And somehow, 3 weeks left in school, they get a notification that she can't go to Dr. Phillips anymore because they had a house that was zoned for Olympia.
Okay.
How all that came together, I don't know.
3 weeks before the end of the school year?
3 weeks before the end of the school year. And clearly not an overcrowding issue. This girl's been in that school for 5 years.
5 years?
More than that.
Dr. Phillips?
Well, she in the Dr. Phillips system, so not at the high school.
All right.
And they were doing it the right way. He did have a house outside the district, but they rented a place inside the district and had the driver's license, rental agreement, everything that you would have. And this girl had been going to Dr. Phillips. And so they somehow came across my information. They called me, we met. I went to their house and met with them and sat there for an hour and listened to them. And when they went to meet with the school board representative, you wouldn't even believe this. She was taking the attitude of, we got you, we caught you. You were trying to jump around and move around. That was the attitude of the school. But it wasn't Pam. I will say that. I'm not going to use any names, but it wasn't Pam.
Okay.
I don't want people to make any assumptions.
Pam Gold is our current school board person who is termed out. That's why she's not running again. She's not allowed to run again.
But the school board member that they met with said that to them. And that attitude made me sick to my stomach. Because you talk about what's right for kids. How is that right for that kid at all? And do you know what happened to that kid? The next 3 weeks, they didn't go to school at all, spiraled into a depression, and had all kinds of
all
horrible...
their friends stolen from them.
While they were in the last...
From a bureaucrat.
Yeah. From somebody who was sitting there on the, high horse of, we got you, we caught you. That's wrong. And I think anybody who meets me sees that I care. Like, at the core of me is empathy. I really care about people, and I think that you can't fake that. Right? You're either are or you aren't. And when I heard that, it made me sick. And so now, just because I went to their house and listened to them, they'll go above and beyond to do anything they can to help me. And it was just that. What might sound like a little thing or whatever, being accessible and caring about people and hearing from people, to the root of doing what's right for kids, that's the foundation. I don't have a silver bullet. I'm not going to be able to fix every issue. There's tons of zoning issues in Horizon West. A lot of my supporters are very angry about where they go to school. They live in one area and they have to drive, or their kids driving 3.5 miles away when there's a school 1.5 miles. I may not be able to fix that. I'm not naive to that.
Sure.
But I'll listen to them.
There's a department.
And there's probably
so how does your role affect that department?
And there's probably reasons for that, but I think working through these problems with the community and keeping that at the forefront. And then look, there's a ton of staff downtown at the school board office. The headquarters for the school board is downtown. I can't even remember the hundreds of staff are downtown. So we are going to have to work, you do have to work with those people, and they're the experts. But I also think it's important that, whoever the board member is for District 4, you have to be strong-willed enough to make your own decisions.
Okay.
Because staff have a lot of information, and they're going to present you with a lot of information. But you also have to be able to make your own evaluations and be strong-willed enough to know that, okay, here are the facts and here's what they're suggesting. And I'm sure a lot of times we'll agree on that. But if I don't think that their suggestion is what's right for District 4, I'm not just going to blindly agree to things. Leadership is hard. And guess what? You're going to make people mad. I am well aware that there will be decisions or votes that I make that upset people. But it will always be rooted in what I see as doing what's right for kids and families.
All right. Now, this is not a full-time job, is it?
It's not a full-time job.
And it's not going to make you rich.
It's not going to make me rich. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I actually today announced that I'm intending to donate a good portion of the salary. We have a scholarship. Because I never did it for money. When I started running.
Let's talk about that for a second, just so people understand. It's not a lot of money. How much is it?
No, it's. I think the salary's $48,000.
Which is about what a teacher makes.
Which is about what a starting teacher makes. And, in today's world, that you can't live on $48,000 without, and that's why you see so many teachers tutoring and doing, which is a sad state of affairs. Yeah, I know. Trust me. Nobody will agree more that teachers are underpaid than I do. It's why I got out of the teaching profession. I wanted to start a family. I realized that what I was making was not going to be enough to start a fammy. It was a tough decision.
So you're going to, because you have to keep your full-time job because it's not a full-time job.
Yep.
Not a full-time job with full-time hours, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I interrupted you. You're committing to giving some of that away?
Yeah, we started, when my dad passed away, we started a scholarship fund. It's called the Roger Goudy Scholarship. We give out currently a couple $1,000s to a graduating senior from his high school. After talking with my family, we've agreed to expand it into District 4. And so with the salary and then also a match from the Roger Goudy Scholarship, we'll be doing at least $1,000 to a boy and a girl from each high school every year of the 4-year term.
Very nice.
And if we can fundraise more than that, we'll do more than that. But as a baseline, because it was never about the money. I'm not doing it for the money.
Sure, you're not going to be rich.
Yeah. And that was never why I was 3 months into the campaign before I realized it was paid. I legitimately thought it was a volunteer position. Because I was like, oh, this is, I went to the meetings. I was like, they meet on Tuesdays. They have work days. I legitimately thought it was a volunteer position whenever I started. And then somebody told me that it was paid. I was kind of surprised.
Oh, well, good.
So.
Well, you have some gas money to get downtown.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Pay for parking.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I'll have a spot in the garage.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about the administrative aspect. We talked about the funding aspect. We talked about the waste. We've talked about the family that felt as though the school board member, not our school board member, or when I say our, District 4.
Yeah. We're in District 4.
Not our school board member, but a school board member that was not leading with empathy and kindness for that family situation, as well as putting the student first. What do you want to talk about? I've been firing stuff at you.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I know you brought this up to me before, and I was glad to be able to speak with Vox Populi. I would urge people to do their research, and if anybody has questions, to call me, because if you're hearing things or making assumptions based on things you've heard, I would urge people not to do that.
Are you talking? So earlier I asked him. I heard that he was a Dads for Liberty member.
Yeah.
And you want to tell me?
Yeah, sure. And I guess I'm not even well.
I heard that as a rumor. I don't know him. I don't know his politics. I wanted to keep it that way. And you said Vox Populi asked you that.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you as well.
Yeah.
Dads for Moms for Liberty, Dads for Liberty.
Yeah.
Are you a member of Dads for Liberty?
I am not a member of Dads for Liberty.
Do you align with the beliefs of? I've never heard of Dads for Liberty. I've heard of Moms for Liberty.
Yeah.
So let's just say, do you align with the beliefs of Moms for Liberty?
I am not even educated well enough on Moms or Dads for Liberty to know what they stand for. I'm so focused on.
It's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you.
No, I am not. I am not extreme. I think anytime either side of the political spectrum that's extreme, in my opinion, is dangerous. I would say, as my ideas fall, I'm in the middle, which is,
You've already said that you disagree with Amendment 1, which would politicize this position.
Yep.
So
keep politics out of schools. Look, the issues that we've talked about, busing, I think student safety is a big thing. I think we're doing a half-baked job of it right now. A lot of the issues, transportation, I already said that twice. A lot of these issues that I think I can go in and make change on have nothing to do with partisan politics. And literacy rates, that's another one, right? 47%.
You don't control curriculum, the state does.
But how our teachers are trained and what we can do for 0 to 5, that's my big thing with literacy is early intervention. I think we could work with Orlando Health and Advent Health to have resources for new parents so they can understand what they can be doing with their kids before they get to school age. To look at a third grader and think you understand their reading story, you don't know anything about that kid. And by the time they make it to first grade, if they're 2 years behind by the time they make it to first grade, how is that teacher ever expected to catch them up? And so you look at first and third grade as these metrics, but you don't look at 0 to 5. How does Orange County not have information that every single parent of a kid that's born in Orange County can receive a free YouTube channel with 0 to 6 months? Here's some things you can be doing, and here are some things that your child should be doing for the parents, not for the kids. And same thing, 6 to 12 months, whatever those age groups are, the experts would determine
so the
that.
school, you want the school system to create that resource for
100%.
I don't know, I've never heard of that before.
If you live in Orange County and you're born in Orange County, you're probably going to go to an Orange County school or a charter school in the district. And so why are we waiting until kindergarten or VBK to start educating these kids? We should be creating resources from parents from birth. You can't look at a first grader and understand their literacy story. And same thing with a third grader. And it's unfair to teachers to expect that. If a 5 or 6 year old comes in at a 3 or 4 year old level, that's not the teacher's fault. And I'm not saying that it's the parents' fault. But I do think there's a lot of parents who are overwhelmed. There's a lot of people working 2 jobs right now. It's not easy to raise, you know this, you have kids, it's not easy to raise kids. And so I think just by encouraging parents that, hey, 10 minutes a day, you can be doing these things for 10 minutes a day, and that will greatly positively impact your kid. And by that time they make it to third grade, they will be reading. And then, help the teachers. And another thing I see just from meeting teachers and parents, there's a lot of pointing the finger at each other. Parents, oh, why isn't the teacher doing X, Y, or Z? And teachers, oh, parents are so difficult.
I throw the state in there too.
Yeah. And the state's probably in there too. I guess I don't, the state doesn't have a door I can knock on.
True.
In District 4 anyway, maybe in Tallahassee. But, I'm talking to teachers and parents. And so I hear it, right? I hear it from them. Well, if the teacher did this, well, we need to build that bridge, right? We're all working together, and when we're in harmony, the outcome's going to be better for the kid. And so another idea I have is, and I don't know how feasible it is, but maybe, naivety I think can be a good thing, right? Because people will always tell you why you can't do things, especially the bigger the entity, the more reasons why you can't do it. But I love the idea of elementary where parents pick up, having the teacher come out once a week, and even if it's 30 seconds, talking to the parent or talking to the, person picking up the kid. Because to have, parent-teacher conferences once or twice or
Carline conference?
A Carline conference for 30 seconds.
Orange County Sheriff's not going to let you do that. You just said, everybody telling you it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I just told you it's not going to happen. They're not going to let you back that traffic up.
Yeah.
Unless it's a different teacher every day.
Yeah, or maybe there's an interval where you do it.
I think bus riders though. How do they bus riders?
Yeah.
Anyway, you think about that. Love the idea.
So
more communication.
And they are doing things to try and communicate between parents and teachers. But look, I think we need to be building bridges, working together, starting early, especially with literacy. I think when you look at a first or third grader, you're missing a huge chunk of that story.
I'm going to give you an idea. My wife's friend is a teacher who told us to read to our children 30 minutes a day minimum from birth, from the moment the child was born. And we did that. And he has a YouTube channel to where he kind of does what you just said every single day, gets on YouTube for 3 minutes and says, this is what we did today, this is their homework, and this is what they should have done by tomorrow. And that's it. And he signs off the YouTube. Yeah. And he does it on his own, though. It's him. It's not the school. It's not the district.
Right. He doesn't have a $2.6 billion budget. So surely OCPS is capable of doing it.
Sometimes the teacher is capable, right? Very good. I like that.
Well, we ask a lot of our teachers already.
We do.
And I think a lot of teachers go above and beyond. So
how do you keep politics out of the classroom?
Yeah.
Because you've already, we've covered that. But how do you keep that out of the classroom?
Right.
And that was that third finger that I said that I was pointing. Tallahassee is really for a government that tries to pretend that it's all about local rule. They really try and take away or they have been taking away local rule a lot. Yeah. So how does the district, our school board district, keep it out of the classroom?
Yeah. So I think on issues that the board votes on, focus on those core principles that we're talking about of doing what's right. Unfortunately, Orange County School Board is not going to be able to dictate what Tallahassee does. Go pay attention to your state house representatives, pay attention to your state senate, pay attention to these local legislators that you're voting for that a lot of people are uneducated about when they go to vote. If you're unhappy with how the state is operating, do something about it. The school board, there are some legal maneuvers you can make certain times, but I think it's a careful balance of, the state is still a big funding arm of OCPS. And it's unfortunate that it is this way, but if the state looks at an Orange County and says, man, they're really, a nuisance, or they're really trying to fight back on these things, I think we need to be careful about that. I do think we need to do what's right at the end of the day. But again, I think education should be nonpartisan. We should try and create harmony if we can. Now, as you mentioned, the state has done a lot of things that influence how our schools operate. I can only control how I conduct myself and how I vote. And so I don't really know how.
So the state also, and you probably know more than me, I'm speaking from headlines right now, but the state, isn't the next school year, aren't they taking even more money from the district and putting that towards religious schools and towards charter schools and towards alternative schools? And even I read Scott Maxwell's article about how if you homeschool your kid, you can buy a 100-inch television, and you can buy theme park annual passes and call it educational. You can go to Epcot on school money. I'm not being literal, right? But
SeaWorld.
But how you just talked about having to,
And
watch waste to
even
not
Florida
let people.
Florida virtual students can go and get a voucher. So
So how do you throw that into the budget? Because we're only growing, so the needs are only growing.
Yep.
And this area where we're sitting right now in Horizon West is, us and Lake Nona are just exploding, not even growing, exploding.
So that's why we need to vote for the half-penny sales tax. If you want to keep opening, if you want to open 15 schools in the next 10 years, we need that money.
Okay, so now tell me about am I correct in my headline knowledge of the state taking even more? Or
no, it's true. They're going to allocate more funding toward the voucher program, which there's no two ways around. It takes away from the public schools, and that's part of what I was talking about earlier when we were saying about the half-penny sales tax. Funding that used to come from the state that no longer does. And so
what about the lottery?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me about, I'd be speaking from ignorance. I get asked about that all the time. Where's the money from the lottery? And I think it's a great question. I'd love to know the answer.
Bright Futures, right? Now that I think about it.
Yeah, but
doesn't it all go to Bright Futures?
It does, but a lot of people have questions about that, and I just don't know well enough to speak on it.
Okay. Cool.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, what else? I want to close with you being in charge of the topic.
Yeah. What else? Man. And I think people realize this, but we're at a point with education, and I think as a country, where we can go one of two ways. And it seems like, the state has ideas about where public education or education of the public, they're different things. I'm an advocate of public education. And so while school choice, I understand it for some families, and I do think that people should be able to send their kids to whatever the best school is. I think there needs to be careful consideration with how we fund our schools. And to the points that we just talked about, as money rolls away from public education, I think that hurts the community, because there are some people who can't, public education is their only choice. There's some people that can send their kids private or to a charter or homeschool. To working class parents that may not be able to get into a charter.
In this area.
Especially in this area. Public school may be their only choice. Can't afford private, can't stay home because you work, can't homeschool because you work. And if you don't get a seat in a charter school, you're at a public school. And so even if I were sitting across from you, Governor DeSantis, in a hypothetical world, that would be my message to him is, I understand where he's coming from with school choice, and I do think he thinks he's doing what's right. But I would say you need to be very careful about how you fund educating the public, because there is a big group of people who that's their only choice. and they shouldn't feel bad about that would be at the core. You should not feel bad about sending your kid to a public school. Nobody should. And when my neighbor across the street was like, I would never send my kid to Southwest Middle School, that was a huge red flag. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And it takes everybody. It's from the state to the county to parents to teachers, all of us rowing in the same direction. That's why I'm against partisan politics in schools. I don't think the races should be partisan. I don't think the issues should be partisan driven. I think we should all be collectively thinking, and we're always going to have different ideas. You may have different ideas than I do. But if at the end of the day we're rooted in doing what's right for kids, I think we'll be a lot better off. And that's why I tell people I'm the Do What's Right for Kids party.
Oh, look at that.
It's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not NPA.
We need another party.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And fun fact for the viewers, the largest group of voters in School Board District 4 are non-party affiliated.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to, one, how District 4 has changed. That's way different than 2020. Those numbers are way different than they were 4 years ago. And I think there are a lot of people who feel like neither party represents them.
Cool.
So I ate about half of this pizza.
About half. None of the crust.
None of the crust. The crust was unrecoverable. Unlike the public schools.
You had to watch that oven a little bit better.
Yeah.
I should have been helping you.
No.
I was getting the camera set up.
I was the pizza maker.
So
I kind of saw it happening too. If we're being honest, I was like, uh-oh.
I was setting the camera up, so I left him alone for a little too long.
I will still eat all of this though.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate meeting you and getting to learn about you. And your spirit to serve. I mean, it's really, nobody's getting rich off this position.
Yeah.
And I think it's just good that, the point. I think it's good that you're stepping up. I think it's good that everyone steps up. And our community is only as good as those who step up to make it good. So thank you for doing that.
And I would urge people to go to a school board meeting. Go watch it. Go see how it's conducted and see how you feel.
You can watch online too, right?
You can watch online. That's actually now how I watch a lot of the meetings because I'm out campaigning. But I do think it's important to watch all the meetings. But I would urge people, if you have kids, or even if you don't, watch one of the meetings. I think it will be eye-opening to people.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
And appreciate you being here and taking the time away from your family and away from campaigning. So August 20th.
August 20th, early voting August 5th to August 18th. I've heard
mail ballots
are going to drop July 18th, I believe.
That's next week.
Yeah, next week. Gosh.
So good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
And, whether you win or whether you don't win, congratulations.
Thank you.
A lot of people.
And one last thing, votegoudy@gmail.com, because I do want people to, if you have any questions, that comes, I don't have any assistant.
That's your email.
The votegoudy@gmail.com comes straight to me. I read it all. I respond. So
what's the website?
GoGoudy.com, GOUDY.com. A little alliteration there for the
Playa Pizza.
Playa Pizza alliteration. It works.
All right, man.
Awesome. Hey, thanks you.
Thanks for being here. Cool. Let's see how long that.